I want to take a moment and thank all of my patrons. You guys are fantastic. I love you guys. And if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, I will link my Patreon link in the video description. There's also other ways you can help the channel, and that would be by clicking the like button or subscribing to the channel. Thank you guys. Welcome to the Twisted Tentacle Inn. I'm your innkeeper, and today we'll be talking about Phantasmal Force. Phantasmal Force is a second-level illusion spell that can be cast by bards, sorcerer, wizards, archfey patron warlocks, great old one patron warlocks, genie patron warlocks, and undead patron warlocks. It takes one action to cast, has a range of 60 feet, and a duration of 1 minute, which requires concentration. The spell targets one creature and allows for an intelligence saving throw to avoid its effects. After that, the spell's going to last on the creature until they use an action and make an investigation check in order to disbelieve the illusion. Once your target fails their initial saving throw, you can make them perceive a creature, object, or some kind of phenomenon that's up to the size of a 10-foot cube. What's awesome about this wording is that it doesn't say that the creature has to see the illusion that you made. Even though the illusion has to be of a visible phenomenon, once you create the illusion, the target perceives auditory, sense, and thermal effects from your illusion. So even if they can't see after you've cast the spell, they're still going to believe that something is there because they can hear, smell, and sense it. The one thing that's not clear in the spell's description is whether the creature has to be able to see on the first round when you first cast the spell. I think they do because it says you have to create a visible phenomenon, but once the spell is already cast and the creature has failed their saving throw, if they are blinded after that, from the wording, I am interpreting that the spell is going to continue to work because they can perceive the illusion through their other senses. So the lights go out, they already saw that there's a creature in front of them, they don't automatically think, oh, the creature's gone. They can still smell it, they can feel its body heat, and they can hear it grunting at them. So they're still going to think it's there, it's just they can't see it now. So what's the purpose of the spell? Well, there are a lot of uses for this spell. It's a great spell for social interaction. You can cast it on someone and make them look like they're going crazy because they're trying to fight this thing that no one else can see. Or you can frame someone by creating an illusion of them and then have them do something nefarious, all while really just their boss or maybe their king or their leader of their cult or whatever sees them doing this thing and they believe that it's that person doing that when it's really an illusion. So there are plenty of out-of-combat uses for this spell, utility and specifically social interaction. But other than the obviously large amount of utility and social interaction potential, this spell is also a fantastic control spell in combat. Mainly, this spell can lock down a creature, potentially for an entire combat. You can basically create anything you want when you craft the illusion. I recommend creating something that would prevent the creature from targeting you or your allies, since a lot of DMs might metagame this. So let me explain. Let's say you create a creature as your illusion. Your target is still going to be able to see you and your allies even though there's a creature right next to them. And if your dungeon master is the kind of dungeon master that dislikes illusion magic, they may just have the creature target you anyways because they're going to rationalize, right, that the creature attacking them is not as powerful as you are or that as your group is. So they're going to risk getting hit by this creature in order to still continue to attack you. It sucks. It's metagamey. But it's happened enough times with enough dungeon masters that I just recommend that you take the initiative here and don't even give them the option. So create something that will fully encase the creature so they cannot perceive you at all. A wooden crate around them or a 10-foot tall ring of fire so they can't see through it. And now the dungeon master has no choice but to attempt to disbelieve, which is going to take an action from the creature. So the burning crate or the ring of fire is still going to deal a d6 of psychic damage to the creature every round, and they're going to have to use their action to investigate. And guess what? Your party members can still attack this creature if they want to, and it's just not going to be able to perceive where the damage is coming from. And by the wording of this spell, they'll probably rationalize them getting hit by your allies somehow because they're going to do mental gymnastics to rationalize that the illusion is real. And then they're going to use an action to attempt to investigate. And if they fail, which they probably will, they will have wasted all their actions for the round, and you and your group can attack them from a distance, and they're really going to be hopeless from your attacks. In a way, I think that this spell is best used in a similar way to Hold Person, but I do think this is a much better spell than Hold Person in most cases. I know that some of you are going to disagree with me and are already typing away that Vase, Hold Person allows you to get critical hits when you attack a creature within 5 feet because they're paralyzed, so it's better. I get it. I get what you're saying. And that is a good point, and it's honestly a really nice benefit of Hold Person. But I found that the critical hits against a creature are something that really don't make as huge of a difference as you might think that it does. The main reason that you would cast Hold Person is to take a creature out of a combat. Tactically minded parties aren't going to waste attacks against a creature that's not fighting back and doing damage to the group. You're going to take someone out of the combat, at least if you're fighting a group of enemies. Take them out of the combat, and now you can focus on the other creatures that are not attacking you. That, to me, is a better tactical maneuver of Hold Person. And honestly, this is generally how I've seen Hold Person used in most cases. You cast Hold Person, creatures out of the combat, deal with the other ones, and then finish cleaning up the floor once that other creature comes back from being held. And then if they're still paralyzed, then go ahead and hit them for critical hits to finish them off quickly. So again, Hold Person looks great on paper in terms of the critical hit situation, but I don't think most people take advantage of it the way that some people think that they would, if that makes any sense. And I know it's super tempting to try and get that extra damage against that creature that's held, but if the creature isn't fighting back, why would you try to kill a creature that's already been removed from the combat? You know what I mean? That's like banishing a creature and then trying to jump to the ethereal plane to attack this creature that's been banished when you got these other creatures on the battlefield that you need to deal with. And you don't have to worry about that one, right? The issues I have with Hold Person are that it's not that good at what it's supposed to be for primarily. A wisdom saving throw is very common for foes to be at least decent at. And the spell allows for a saving throw every single round. In my experience, Hold Person is going to take a creature out of the combat for maybe 1 or 2 rounds on average. This is not a mathed out number, it's just from my experience, and I see Hold Person being cast in at least once a month. I see Hold Person being used. Phantasmal Force targets intelligence, which is a saving throw that creatures are least likely to be good at. This means that Phantasmal Force is going to land more often than Hold Person. And not only that, but Phantasmal Force doesn't grant another saving throw after the first failure. Most creatures in a wood-burning box will probably spend their first action attacking the box, trying to break it so they can get out of it. On the following round, they may try to investigate, but it takes their whole action to do so, which means that they've already been taken out of the combat for 2 full rounds. And that's assuming that they succeed. But they probably won't succeed on their first try. This is because even if the creature is very intelligent, there are so few creatures who are proficient in investigation that their bonus is going to be very low compared to their saving throw. So let's look at an example here. The Mind Flayer has a really good intelligence and a saving throw of +7 for intelligence. They're going to be hard to nail down with a Phantasmal Force, but if you land the spell, the Mind Flayer is going to have to investigate on the following rounds to end the effect. In this case, the Mind Flayer is not proficient in investigation, so after they fail their saving throw, they're only going to be rolling that investigation check at a +4 bonus, not a +7, in order to escape the spell's effect, because that's what their intelligence bonus is. The same Mind Flayer has a +6 wisdom save.
Hold monster.
Is only 5% more likely to land that first round, but 10% less likely to remain after the first round against that creature. And that's assuming the Mind Flayer even has a reason to attempt an investigation check. And I know the Mind Flayer has advantage on saving throws against spells because of their magic resistance, but I'm trying to keep this simple. In fact, let me just kind of touch on that real quick. It's even more powerful against a Mind Flayer because of that magic resistance. It's going to have advantage in its saves every round against
Hold monster,
because that is a saving throw, making it even more likely that it's going to escape. Where with Phantasmal Force, it's going to have advantage only on that first roll and when you cast a spell. But in subsequent rounds, it's going to require a skill check, not a saving throw, which means magic resistance doesn't apply which means they're not going to have neither advantage nor their intelligence saving throw bonus. So even more likely to stick with a Mind Flare, even though they're very intelligent creatures. So in this example, the gap's even wider between Hold Person and Phantasmal Force. If you play the spell right, you may not even give a creature a chance to free themselves. Of course, this spell requires creativity to get the most out of it, as is the case with most illusion spells, but even with minimal effect, this spell will most likely take a creature out of a combat more reliably than Hold Person will. Of course, Hold Person is still a good spell, especially if you're facing a large foe or very tough enemy, let's say. And let's say that you need to deal a bunch of damage very quickly, then those critical hits are going to come in handy. But I find that to only really be the case against like a large foe or a boss enemy. 90% of the time, my go-to single target spell is going to be Phantasmal Force for control. So I do hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, please click like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. As always, I'm your innkeeper from the Twisted Tentacle Inn. Check in anytime. I'll talk with you then.
So then I tell the hag, go turn on the light switch and make me a sandwich. So she took my name down and wrote it in her little black spell book. Oh yeah? Which one? And for dinner, I put a bun in the coven. She ended up staying the night, and I threw her around like a hag doll. I'll see you later. Make sure you practice safe hacks.